Hi, I'm Marina Sirtis, and you're going boldly with Beyond Trek podcast.
This is Beyond Trek Podcast, your source for Star Trek on social media and around the web. I'm Big J.
I'm Watney.
And I'm Dag, the Trivia Master. You can find us on Facebook at Beyond Trek Podcast and on Twitter at Beyond Trek Pod.
Red alert.
Oh, look at this guy. Look at this guy. We've got a Romulan infiltrator.
I mean, I guess you can say what the theme of today's episode is.
Well, yeah. And that's the theme is today for Beyond Trek podcast. And by the way, first, I'm Big J here with Watney and Dag in disguise, like robots in disguise, Dag in disguise.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and this episode is about Cersei and Jamie Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Spoilers, of course. Spoiler. If you followed us this far, you don't need the warning because you've already seen the show. But if you haven't seen the show, well, too bad.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Star Trek version of the Game of Thrones characters, Cersei and Jamie Lannister, and it's Romulan night tonight. So we're going to be talking about
my favorite night.
The siblings, the salacious siblings.
Salacious.
Narek and Narissa.
Yes, it's a great word.
How do you, okay, does anyone here speak Romulan or understand Romulan? Do you know what is Romulan for the phrase "Sweet Home Alabama"? Because that was playing in my head every time there was a scene with these two. But
there's a Romulan language website out there, but it's not well spoken. Alabama being a proper noun is probably still the same.
Okay.
Yeah, just like Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah, this today we're talking about our favorite Wonder Twins. I'm pretty sure they're twins, right? They talk about themselves being twins.
No.
Really?
Right. I am 99% sure they are not twins because, and I don't remember, I want to say that Narissa is younger than Narek. I could swear there was...
Narek's younger than her. She says little brother.
Okay, she does. I'm sorry. But I do recall that one of them made that reference as to one was the younger sibling. Now, sure, you can get technical and say, well, you could say that about a twin because one's coming out first. I mean, I don't think I've seen two twins come shooting out simultaneously, if that's not possible. Is that another bad women's anatomy thing? I mean, it's not simultaneous.
Let's move on.
Okay, already. Moving on. Already.
Oh boy, what a start. Can we please go back to
So
You
we're
want me to
going to
rewind
begin with Harry Treadaway as Ryan, aka Narek, aka the self-proclaimed Zhat Vash reject.
He calls himself that?
I think that's a quote. I didn't do my due diligence, but at some point on the cube near the end, when he's talking to her in her little crow's nest, he says, "I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I'm the Zhat Vash reject or the Zhat Vash dropout." And I just felt like Zhat Vash reject, probably a really good band name. So I wanted
Zhat Vash reject. Yeah.
Well, maybe I was wrong. I don't know.
It is. It's a good name for a band.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
He gets infinitely better after he gets in that little snakehead ship and shuts the fuck up. So. Not that I don't actually. I think he's okay. Like, sure, he is a seriously idiotic, abusive person to Soji. Again, this is a story. There are going to be people like this within narratives to create conflict and be shitty. So, he's not a good guy. Yeah, that's it. That's great. But we're talking more about the nuance of these characters and things we liked and didn't like. So just keep that in mind.
Now, he has two very strong relationship connections in Picard. That's with Soji and with Narissa.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about Shoji kind of sort of first. But who really is Narek? Nobody knows, because we didn't get a lot of screen time with him that really digged into him alone. His on-screen time was always set up against Soji or Narissa, or helping our 4 heroes take down the synth installation at the end.
I take it that he's just an operative, like just some CIA type undercover.
Tal Shiar, for sure.
Tal Shiar, right?
Yeah, he like, I mean, isn't the Zhat Vash all women?
Yes.
It wasn't that scene.
It wasn't what?
It was in the scene that we got of the admonition flashback.
Okay. Well, okay. I know that Commodore O is like, I don't have faith in your choice, Narissa, of operatives. And she's like, he will get the job done. So it's like, Narissa's kind of like, she grew up with Auntie. She grew up with like all these people around her. And Narek was kind of like the little brother who was just like playing on the swing set while they like did rituals with rocks. Like,
did Romulans even have swing sets? Like, what did Romulan
just
children
humor
play
me,
with?
Big J.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying.
Romulan swing sets are socially distanced.
Yeah, and I think like I said this earlier, like way early in our episode reviews of Picard, that he wasn't attracted to the job. The job was made for somebody like him, if that makes sense, because he's such a sociopath that he can, well, really psychopath, because he like tries to kill her. I hesitate to say clean cut sociopath because he obviously has emotions. I just think that he's like, I don't know, he's so hard to like really trope up. He's not really a trope, he's like, you kind of root for him at the end because you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, you're kind of right. This whole thing is going to kill everybody. And it's a very sympathetic kind of dude. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I was kind of agreeing with you. I was thinking like he's the thing everybody reacts against or towards. He doesn't seem to have a whole lot of his agency other than where the narrative tells him to be. I mean, especially, as we'll get to in the end, he just disappears. The narrative doesn't need him anymore.
So he's just there to supply the narrative.
In his scenes.
I feel like all the characters they all feel like him a little bit. Like, you don't really get to know any of them. And this was another, along with like answering some questions about Soji and Daj on Instagram, Michael Chabon also answered on his Instagram stories what happened to Narek at the end of the show. And I can't say I'm particularly a fan of wrapping things up in a 10-second text on social media, but he basically said, yeah, Narek, we know. A casualty of the editorial process, alas. He's blaming editing for leaving him out. The intention was for him to be taken into Federation custody. So that's I guess what we know, and I'm sure we will see him again at some point. I hope we do, because at the end he got a lot more interesting when he started to kind of like buddy up with the main crew.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I think that's one of those things that we don't have to see it on screen to strongly infer that that's what happened. I think, yes, obviously he got taken into custody, but and not to jump ahead, but I did see an article that stated he would not be returning for season 2. Now that's just season 2, but
that's so far.
Right. That's so far, but I do not believe. I believe that storyline is going to be completely like that was season 1, and that's it. No retread of character or story from season 1, besides possibly the Picard and the Gollum thing. But yeah, with Narek, I don't see, like Dag said, with his agency, it was just his scenes were moving the plot forward. That and flirting with his sister. So, or really the other way around.
It was very one-sided.
Yeah, it was very one-sided.
Yeah.
Okay, so that now that you say that and point that out, that makes it even more creepier. But
I think he like had been dealing with this from her for a while, and I'm sure like he was just like, oh well,
playing doctor when they were kids.
I know how to like play the situation to still get what I need to do, which is my end goal is to like get Soji's brain to unlock or whatever. So I think he was used to just playing people. He's always done that. And then I think when he kind of realized at the end that everything was gonna actually happen and it wasn't just like something his crazy sister and her friends were talking about for so long, like he was like, oh yeah, I have to actually do something about this. So
yeah, I think he was there on one hand to give Soji the trauma that would lead her to doubt reality and push her more towards the synth cause. And I think he was there to give Narissa something familiar but also malleable to play with in sort of a Zula Zuko kind of way. If you've seen that really old show no one's heard of, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Ava what? The last what?
Yeah. Blue Smurfs in space. I don't know. But yeah, he really is just there to the phrase that's repeating in my head. He's the spring ball court. Everybody goes in there to beat on him, but he doesn't really do anything except exist to get beat on.
Poor guy.
You know, his primary relationship in the show, first time we see him, he gives a sob story about a brother to Soji. And then the next time we see them, they're in the sack together. Weird.
That was fast.
Hookup's a hookup.
Yeah. What did you guys think of this pseudo relationship before he tried to kill her? Was there anything that was like, this could work out to you?
Can I go first? No, Watney, I'll defer to
Watney. No, you go ahead.
I know better.
I'm getting my thoughts together.
Okay. So to me, it started out as a mission. You need to get her guard down, get close to her, exploit the vulnerabilities, et cetera, and like any other undercover job or mission, you're not supposed to fall for the mark. That is the job. That's what you need to do. And I think that he ended up not being able to compartmentalize those things. And yes, he went into it knowing that, okay, I have to get close to her. I've got to get her guard down. I've got a job to do. But as that time went, I think just the nature of what he needed to do to accomplish that is he's opening himself up, and it wasn't just pretend. He actually got to where he was, he had feelings for her, and that developed. And he wasn't really pushing her to the satisfaction of O and Commodore O and Narissa. And I want to think that part of that is because he quickly developed this relationship with her, and all the while in the back of his mind, he knows that this is going to come to an end, and it's going to mean her death and destruction. But yet he has to open himself up in order to get to that point. So yes, very, very much he started off knowing what the job was, what the mission was, but then it went to where he actually had those feelings for her. So that's what I think. And I think, yes, in a different world, if she wasn't a mark and there wasn't this mission, that they could have had something. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he doesn't really know. He's not particularly well adjusted. I mean, anytime Soji is like, wanting to be serious with him or talk about things or like, here's what I'm feeling and dealing with. He's always like never what she needs from him. You know, he's like, he becomes like aloof whenever she needs to be serious. And whenever she is wanting to like focus on something other than him, he starts telling her he loves her. Like I don't think he knows how to like really do anything but manipulate. And I'm sad that we're not going to see that change in him throughout the story.
Yeah, it would be nice to get a redemptive arc from him on that front.
Yeah, I think they did like a barely like a kind of job. Like
we'll see
of that. They tried to like turn that engine over, but it was stalling for the redemption of him.
Yeah. I saw that redemptive thing at the end to be more about the enemy of my enemy. And that was it. It was a survival thing.
Yeah, it was. And truly every organic should have been on the same side in that situation with it coming down to the wire like that. And you know, I don't know. It sucks we didn't get to see him getting taken into Federation custody if that was the very last time we were going to see him. Because then it's like, okay, bye, move on. But as it is, it's like, okay, he did a couple roundhouse kicks and then that's it.
Then he got yeeted.
Then he was yeeted from the story. Yes.
Yeeted. As Shavon said, he was edited, yeeted.
Mm-hmm.
Just go with that. I invented a new word like Cthulhu. Oh, yeah, no, see, yeah, and Watney, when you were talking about how anytime she seems to want to focus on something else, he is like reeling her in on a line, and the bottom two gifts here are that's very clear. She's having an emotionally taxing moment, and all he can do to try and get her out of that is to kiss her and be like, I'm falling in love with you. And it's like, wait, stop and listen, jerk.
Yeah. Then the whole fucking let's go run barefoot through the war cube thing is really stupid to me.
You didn't like the running barefoot through the cube? Wasn't that romantic?
Running barefoot through a board cube is the name of an autobiography.
Oh my God.
Waiting to happen.
For someone that's always talking about you like the romance and the slow burn, I thought you would have liked that scene very much.
No, that's corny.
Oh.
Well,
I don't like corny, period. At all.
Might as well play Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so now what you were saying about that Dag, about him kind of, so why did he do that? If Soji was having that moment, emotional moment, why would he cut her off and like redirect it? Isn't that kind of what his mission is, to get her to
trust him
to that point?
I think it's to get her to trust him, but also at the same time, I think he might have deep down been panicking. Like, what if she starts to activate? What am I going to do?
Because I don't have her in the room yet.
He would totally like grab her attention away from the things that are messing with her and take it directly to something about him that she can focus on that takes her away from that moment.
Right. I know. And he was like, quiet, here's my lips. Okay, sorry. We'll move on to the next gift. The room.
It is that very much. It's like, I'm going to center you here and now because I know that you're infatuated with me. And she's going to view it as, oh, wow, he comforts me during these trying times. And it's unfortunately not comfort. It's distraction, and it's for a covert reason. Like it's not like, okay, let's sit down and talk about yourself, your higher brain activating. let's sit down and have a conversation that's going to lead you to realize that I may not be who I say. So obviously he's going to try and distract her, but part of me like thinks, oh, is this him being a smooth operator, or is this him really just being fucking idiot in a relationship, because we start to think that he cares about her. We start to think about that, because he almost like couldn't kill her. He almost like he gets out of there and starts to cry, and you're like, I think he actually started to care about her. So I just think they're both extremely immature, and they're like, this is their first thing,
Well, and I don't think that he started to care about her at that point. I really think that happened a lot earlier than we think. I don't think that his caring started when they walked into this room here, when he knew that this was going to be a one-way ticket for her. I think before that happened. That's just my thought. That's my feeling. I just think that those feelings were already there well before we got to this point, with the tiki torch candles in this room.
Based on the thoughts you both have shared, it almost feels like he was trying to manage her activation, and there were times where she'd escalate a little bit faster, and he'd center her, she'd think about something else, and he'd bring her back to her history and her past, and she sort of stumbled along these breadcrumbs until she discovered she's only got a 3-year history, and now she's panicking, and okay, I'm going to take you through this meditation. And the goal of that was to identify the location of the synth planet. And once they had that clue about the 2 red moons and the lightning, she was expendable for the cause. And he had to weigh his infatuation with her against the cause. And of course, the cause is the eradication of biological life.
Right.
So at this point, it's okay to activate her because he's just going to kill her anyway. But what he fails to realize is that she could beat up Mike Tyson in about 2 seconds, and she destroys this floor to get out of it.
Yeah, because he's the genius that took her in a room with hardwood floors. Like,
I know,
you
right?
jackass. Okay, so she's not going to be able to get through that. Come on.
And where on a board
I think he wanted her to get out.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
Were you about to ask where on a board cube are you going to find lumber like that?
Well, I mean, you could obviously replicate it, but, who goes to this kind of artifact and is like, oh, by the way, I need my standard issue Romulan meditation room, okay?
Yeah. Well, they had a bar.
Every board cube needs a temple.
Yeah.
And not just that, but a Romulan meditation room that's off the sensors.
It's been here for how long, though?
14 years.
They've been on the cube that long. Of course, they're going to install like a little tiny studio size thing. That's
justifiable. There's some creature comforts that you want. Okay.
Right. Because there are a lot of staff living there. I mean, this is a long-term reclamation project. So if you're going to have people here and scientists or whatever, you're probably not going to just put them in a bunch of the half-ass created bunk beds. It's after that amount of times, well, hey, let's just make this place livable because we're probably going to be here for a while. And sure enough, 14 years later, we're still doing this. And I'm sure over time they added some things, they added some amenities, because if you're going to, now I'm sure that didn't start right away. There was probably a lot of, let's do a minimalist thing because we don't know if these drones are all going to suddenly become active. And I think as time went along, they sort of got a little more comfortable in, okay, we're going to do this thing, but we need to actually make this place livable because it's not going to be an office. People aren't going to be coming and going. So yeah, within the span of that decade plus that this cube has been getting investigated and looked at, et cetera. Sure, they have bar there. There's quarters, meditation room. Sure, why not? There's got to be a bocce ball set somewhere there also.
Why not have a holodeck?
People are living, working on it, and it's a spaceship, just like any kind of Federation ship. There's going to be like things to make living there bearable, so you're not in the cold board cube that you don't realize you're in.
Right, yeah.
I can't imagine living
a sleeping
in a board
bag.
cube. What the fuck? Yeah.
Where on a board cube can I find the heater? It's freezing on here.
Not only that, but like Soji has her own huge room. I think everybody has that. That's how big the cube is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's like 3 kilometers square.
Yeah.
3 cubic
fucking
kilometers.
huge.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's huge.
Wait, you think she'd have to settle for a studio?
No, she's the main character. She might as well have pink hair.
Yeah, so after Picard and Soji escape, the only recourse that Narek has is to follow this La Serena around in cloak until he gets to the synth planet. And the next time he sees Soji, he's locked up after crashing on at Copernicus Station.
Mm-hmm.
And again, here he only serves to be the spring ball court that she bounces off again. And instead of bouncing towards him, this is where she does her full commitment to the synth cause and gives him up.
Yeah.
And even though I don't really agree with Soji wanting to eradicate biological life, I think she did the right thing here. She just was like, nope. And that was good. I like that.
I think he actually was serious. Like, for sure.
I would say so. In his way, he meant those words.
Yeah, he's like worse than Elnor when it comes to feelings.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't imagine Romulans really being the gold standard for feelings.
Really? Because they're kind of the more emotional part of Vulcans. Like they are they're Vulcans with feelings.
Yes. Well, yes, there is that. However, Romulan, it seems like their entire lifestyle, well, their whole lifestyle and culture is based upon suspicion and in the shadows and covert. I mean, for God's sakes, they have their inside name and their outside name. It runs that deep where anyone on the off planet doesn't know your quote unquote real name. It's just, I think that their people and their culture are so ingrained in that secrecy and that keeping things close to your chest that something like being able to express or explore your feelings like that is not typical. Now, I'm not saying suppressing them like Vulcans do with logic. I'm just saying that the Romulans kind of they take their priority is on keeping things secret and thinking that someone's plotting against you or whatnot, or if someone is nice to you, it's probably for a reason, etc.
Yeah, and I do think like you're correct. Like the whole reason Vulcans had to suppress their emotion was because they were Romulans that they just war because they're like so suspicious of each other, and it's like a negativity so much. But really we only know about the inside outside name from Narek. We haven't ever heard that in canon elsewhere, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, well, I guess it makes sense for them, but he's just such a oddball that it's like, okay, are you sure you're not just doing that on your own? Like you have an invisible friend? Like,
yeah,
is this not all in your head? Like, I don't know. We don't ever know Narissa's name, so and she's talking to Auntie.
Yeah. Now after this, Narek, with the help of Sutra, kills one of the synths and runs off into the desert, where he happens to come across our heroes. And they get a lot of shots off on him, and I really kind of like it, even though he's like throwing rocks at them, and Rios is like, "Why are you throwing rocks at me?" And he's like, "I have grenades. I'm throwing rocks." Okay, what do you want to say? And then he comes in and he says his piece, and Elnor's like right there with the blade. He's like, "Choose to live" in Romulan, and Narek is like, "Yes, absolutely, I choose to live."
Man, what I loved about that scene was how close how close Elnor was able to get to Narek before he realized he was there.
Shoot, how close Elnor was got to Narek before Rios and Raffi saw him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like, totally field of view, Elnor.
Maybe they did see him and they were like,
Elnor, that's way too sneaky for absolute candor. You should have a megaphone down the hall, be like, "I'm coming to kill you. Choose to live."
Put a cowbell on this man.
Totally, just announce his presence. Like when he dropped down and killed those Romulans on the Borg cube. Like he should have been like, "Hey guys, I'm up here. I'm gonna jump down and try to kill you. Choose to live."
the absolute candor part of Elnor is that you will know he is better than you truly when he's thrusting a sword into your neck. Like that's what the utter absolute candor is to him. It's like, yeah, I beat you, motherfucker.
Well, and he gets pretty snarky.
Elnor?
He gets pretty snarky with Narek in their
They're both Romulans
series.
Which is so fucking weird because we see Romulans like they're so involved in this and there's different groups. You know, I love to see different segments of like societies.
It's nice to have a demographic of people instead of just this monocultural presence.
Yes. An actual culture is what we got out of the Romulans.
We get the Romulans on the planet where they picked up Elnor. We get to see the what are the opposite of the Zhat Vash, Elnor's people?
Oh, the Kuat Malat.
Yes, thank you, the Kuat Malat. And their kind of way, we get a hint of their way. We get a hint of the Romulans on the Reclamation Project. It was very, very cool to see a stratification there.
Yes, huge.
I love
we got
this
more
GIF,
of that.
Like,
oh, go ahead.
Just seeing Rios and Raffi like mom and dad. You know, mom and uncle.
Yeah, space
mom and uncle,
and the uncle who lets you sip his beer when no one's looking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who lets you fly a starship, but only after like yelling at you about it.
Right.
And he doesn't have a problem with you owning a katana. Just don't slit the throat of the guy that we need to talk to right yet.
Yeah. I love his face in that gif. He's like, "Don't think we won't kick your ass, dirtbag." He's like, "Yeah."
Yep, absolutely. It was an interesting thing to get these people in the room with one of I would say the antagonists of the series. For the most part, they didn't really directly have to face Bjayzl, and up until this point, they had sort of just been flying around until they beamed up Picard from Nepenthe and flew through a transwarp conduit to here. So they hadn't really had one-on-one time with an antagonist until now. Right. And it was cool to see them have the opportunity to act against him. And also just Elnor being like, "Oh yeah, I know all the Zhat Vash myths. They're crap." Like, wait, you knew?
Right.
So yeah, here is where they plan to stop the synths from contacting Synthulu, and they sneak in all sneaky heisty style, and somehow get super close to a bunch of synths after planting a bomb in a soccer ball.
Do you have that one? Do you have that GIF?
Pretty smart, honestly.
There we go.
I mean, the GIF here sort of tries to feature Narek, because this is really the last time you get to see him, but you've got Rios coming in with the soccer ball, Narek flying down like Spider-Man. No, not a clue how he didn't break his knees there, but
Romulan knees.
This is
I wish I had some.
This is Narek's only action sequence, and as scared as he might have been on the Borg Reclamation Project of Soji activating, here he is confronting full-blown synths like they're dummies on a combat trial,
which he was probably prepping to fight them with dummies in a combat trial.
Oh, you think he was on La Serena, like
pumping some iron?
Are you talking about? You're talking about Narek, right?
Yeah, Narek.
Oh, yeah. He's been training his whole life to fight since, for sure.
Okay.
Now, just something I wanted to bring up about the scene, and this was just kind of my own beef at first, but if you guys recall, when we did our a review a month or so ago on this episode, I kind of had a problem with Narek and Elnor just dropping in and getting the drop on some synth, elbow here, a punch there, or spin kick. And at the time I was thinking, okay, no way, you're not doing that against a Sith. You're going to break your hand, break your foot, whatever. But then as I thought about it, with this fight, I'm cool with it. And here's why. So when I first saw this, the scenes I'm thinking of in my head was season 1 TNG, the episode Data Lore, when Worf ended up in the turbolift with Lore.
Yeah.
And Worf gave Lore a big backhand with everything he had, barely phased Lore. And then there was it season 6, The Chase, when they were looking for those clues that led them to the progenitors, basically the species that planted the seeds amongst the galaxy. And remember, there was the Klingon that came to see Data in 10-4 and was going to do the beer drinking games with them. Right. And went to headbutt Data, and the impact threw himself back. So I was thinking, okay, so yeah, Data and Lore, they're made out of some crazy duratanium, neutronium composite. It's yada, yada, yada. You take a swing at Data, you're going to break your hand because it would be like punching a bulkhead. But then we get to the synth, and I was thinking, okay, well, no, they're not constructed like that. These synth are essentially that next generation of cybernetics. They are organic. I mean, you're talking about bioorganic mass. So even though they are much stronger than you, it doesn't mean that, like in this scene, if you get the drop on them, sure, you could drill one with an elbow, a punch, and it's not going to hurt you. They may be a little more solid than the common person, but we're not talking the super hard materials of Data and Lore. So that's why when after I thought about that, I said, okay, this scene does make some sense. That's right.
There's room to say that these are not your Grand Sungi's androids.
Right. Correct. No, you're right. They're definitely not
peak human, but they can still be taken out with a few swings. They trade all of that durability to be able to feel and act more organically.
Yes.
Totally got that. I can headcanon
that.
Okay. Any more words on Narek and Soji before we head on off to Narissa territory?
Nope. Let's go to Narissa.
Nope. Let's go.
Yep. I'm going to talk about Narissa, and I know Watney does too. Yes.
Peyton List as Narissa.
AKA heavy breathing.
Do you hear something?
Nothing.
If you're listening to the show, you know that we have said nothing but great things about Narissa's portrayal. I don't even know if she had equal to or greater screen time than Narek, but she owned pretty much every scene she did. She was a natural force in her moments. When she's doing the Cersei stuff, you feel uncomfortable, and that's intentional. And so I think the actress succeeded there.
Oh yeah.
You're right up there with Cersei and Azula, and those are two of the penultimate manipulating femme fatales.
She's just so much further ahead of like everyone. except for 7.
yeah.
But this thing with her brother just weirds me out. I mean, why? Okay, so answer me this. Seriously. Would the story have been any less accomplished by not laying it on so thick that there was probably some inappropriate stuff going on with these two, or at least the implication? I mean, really, did it make the story better? Would it have not been as good if they weren't making it like these two had a fling? I mean, I think they did it. I think they did it. That's just where I'm at. I think it's
probably. Yeah. But let's get something straight. You're assuming we're operating under the same premise of your statement, which is that the story is accomplished.
Uh-oh.
The story. Do you want to open this can of worms with me, Big J? Because Narissa and his relationship is not the worst part of this fucking show.
Lay it on me, Watney. Lay it on me. Tell me. Look,
I have talked so much about how bad Picard is that I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm just not.
I want the table slap. No, I want the table slap. How was the storyline made better by strongly implying that Narissa and Narek were doing some naughty games?
Your original question would it not have been as accomplished as if they wouldn't have had it in there? My question is, it is what it is, man. It just is what it is. It's like the story is already so convolutedly weird, and like the characterizations of people are so out of pocket for what you expect, not just on a Trek show. It's like, sure, I'm okay with cussing, I don't give a shit. I'm okay with violence, I don't give a shit. But when you start adding stuff in to make sense during one scene, then not addressing that the next scene, who cares if they have an undertone of incest? It doesn't. That's a really weird sentence, but
okay. So what I'm just hearing you saying is that incest is best. About the show, You're okay with incest? Oh, okay.
Did you watch and enjoy Game of Thrones, and did you ask that question?
Well, I mean, let's not turn the topic onto me. Right? We're talking about
called out.
This isn't about me.
Game of Thrones, and you didn't pitch about it. Yes.
Well, we weren't doing a Game of Thrones podcast. I didn't have a chance to bitch about it.
Okay.
To the question.
Obviously, I don't think incest is okay. I obviously don't think Anakin powering up a lightsaber and lawnmowering down a bunch of kids is okay either. But this is a narrative, okay?
But that scene in Empire Strikes Back where Luke kisses Leia is unforgivable. I'm kidding, of course.
Everyone was like, "Oh, that's cute," and then the next movie, they're like, "It's like that." Okay, at least they didn't do that to us. They didn't do that shit.
Well, no, okay. Funny story. Let me sidebar just real quick. Hold on. Okay, so George Lucas at that time did not know that he was going to have Luke and Leia be siblings. That didn't come to fruition until the writing of Return of the Jedi, and then said, "Oh, okay, you know what? This would make this story tight if Luke and Leia were actually the children of Darth Vader." And then, oh shit! But they were kissing in the previous movie. I hope
Counterpoint.
They didn't know that they were siblings either.
You think Michael Chabon knew these kids were going to end up as siblings as the show progressed?
I don't think Michael Chabon knew his ass from his elbows.
Hey,
so
go back to my original point about Narek being the narrative beating ground here.
Okay.
His interactions with Narissa only serve to make Narissa creepier. They don't really serve to make him any more sympathetic. You know, you kind of get a sense that he's trying to do the right thing and he's fighting through these pressures that the Tal Shiar and the Zhat Vash have placed upon him. But his interactions with Narissa, we come away from those going, damn, she's creepy. And that's what he serves as. His relationship with Soji, again, damn, she's being manipulated. That's Narek's position. And I think there's some alliteration here. Narek, Narissa, narrative. And I'm going to stick to that.
Well, and I think that could have been accomplished without her basically just all up in his personal bubble, which she did several times. And here's the thing. And again, I'm not saying that that incest is cool, but I think what would have made it just a little more palpable, just a little, is if Narissa were the older sibling.
She is.
Yeah, doesn't she call him little brother?
Does she? Okay, do I keep mixing that up? Is she the? I thought she was the younger
sibling. No, it's Narissa was the oldest, and then Narek, and then I assume Narek may have been the youngest, depending on if there was actually another brother that died.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because then at least at that point, you've got someone who's manipulating that power of being the older sibling, you know?
Yeah, I think, the whole like incest thing with them is, like Dag mentioned, primarily to make Narissa look really creepy and twisted.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I don't.
How do we know that that's not a thing on
anything?
I don't
think they actually did anything. I think that the creepiness is there for the sake of creepiness, and it's really more in the writing than it is in actually existing between those two characters.
I disagree.
Narissa is absolutely a plot device to get viewers to go, and it worked.
It sure as hell worked.
It worked fantastically. Now, I don't need to debate whether or not they actually did it. That's not important to me. I just don't think they did.
Okay.
That's fine, but I don't agree.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it's a good thing that it happened. I definitely think that they did, though, because how long has this been going on? Look how jealous she is of Soji.
She got jealous. Yes.
She's legit jealous of her.
Yes.
Like, she doesn't want this plan to go through. She talks about who he's fucking. Like, it's that kind of stuff.
It was it was the jealousy thing. And
even though it's brother and sister, it's still like really casually weird, like whatever, like Cersei and Jamie, like.
But then again, we don't know a whole lot about Romulan culture. We've admitted that several times. We're taking our opinions of that and applying it to an alien species.
No, the writers are using our opinions to manipulate how we feel about it on screen.
No, right. I know. I'm talking about in universe, and canon. We know so little about the Romulans
in universe, a sociopath doesn't understand or regard boundaries at all and will say or do anything to get what they want, including making somebody uncomfortable.
Right.
And I just wanted to.
I don't think she is that because
Watney's
she's.
Point.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to support you. Narek is officially Narissa's younger brother, so Narissa is the older of the two.
She definitely like. Any conversation is like her driven. Mm-hmm. He has to defend against her in conversation. That's because she's like, you're gonna fuck this up. I am gonna go in there and just straight up torture her, and he's like, no. No, and here's why. And like it's like that kind of thing. He has to like constantly buffer her bloodthirsty nature, and I love it. I think she's extremely like she's just ruthless, dude. She's unapologetically ruthless.
Yes.
Even to Commodore O. She's like, fine. Like she doesn't like, they have a history. In this scene though, you don't know that they do yet.
Correct.
And she's like acting all like an equal to you. She kind of is, but in Starfleet that's not how that works. Anyway.
Well, you're right, but they were in a room alone. So I mean, they didn't have to stand on Starfleet formality.
I know, but we didn't know that.
You're right. Yep.
So we're like, what the fuck is this bitch doing? Talking to
You're like, oh, you better not talk to a superior officer like that. Who are you?
I was like, God, her voice is like silky butter in my ears.
Fact that our first introduction to her is in uniform, and we only see her in uniform one more time holographically talking to Narek. There's a history there of her operations on Earth. And that would be interesting to explore in a book or an upcoming season. Just to see, you know, what was she doing, and does she set anything else in motion? And because we know at the end of Picard, she doesn't make it. Were there things that she had planned as safeguards or fallbacks in the event that she didn't return from a mission? It's just interesting to speculate on. But we know she had no problem, comparatively speaking, stomaching the admonition while the other initiates killed themselves or were driven completely insane. That's a very low percentage of success to get people into Zhat Vash.
That's a very high bar for membership right there.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, she's so pretty.
You know, I'm wondering, Watney, do you think that Narissa is prettier as, well, I'm sorry, not Narissa, that the Peyton List portraying this character as a Romulan or as a human in regards to, I mean, I think as a human, she's attractive, but something about
as a Romulan,
there's something about the Romulan. It's like, holy shit.
I honestly, she's just she just is
she looks
attractive.
Like
that's it. I don't know anything else to say it, but
she looks like if she tells you to do something, you're going to do it.
Yeah, I will do it with bells on and in cursive. Whatever she needs.
Yep.
Will happen. I mean, obviously they picked the perfect person for this role. And I'm just extremely sad that we are presumed to believe she is dead. I mean, would I like to say she's not? Absolutely, because you don't see her physically die. You see her fall out into a cavern.
She falls into a chasm, and you're saying she's not. Are you one of those people that's like Mace Windu is probably still alive?
Season one-er.
Oh,
like come on! I would rather have her
if I fell off this table,
and then she's like, I'm gonna bust out Narek from the Federation, and then they show up later. How cool would that be?
No bullshit. If I fell off this table, it would hurt like hell. She went flying off a chasm. You're one of those. Yeah, Mace Windu might still be alive because we didn't see him make contact with the ground 290 stories down.
Money right now do you want to put on her coming back and busting Narek out of Federation custody? Really?
Do you have to see every person who falls down something like make contact with the ground to know that it was a freaking like if it was
they're literally in a knife fight.
If it was any more than 2 stories
to kick her off of a ledge instead of stab her narratively.
Okay.
I think there's a reason for that.
No, there's not.
They want the loose end. Yes, they do. They want to be able to say.
Unless that drop was any less than, say, like a 2-story building, forget about it.
You don't know what she has in her pocket. I mean, shit.
Not a parachute.
You really don't.
Be the only thing that would have saved her ass on the fall, and I know she didn't have that, or a large pillow.
Grapples.
Yeah, now she's fucking Batman. Dad can't see.
Can't read that.
The lights reflecting off your Post-it note.
Just say it.
I mean, you gotta.
Palpatine did it.
I'm turning off the feed. Where's the dad?
How many times?
Come on! Why are you going to bring up the Palpatine thing? Yes. Okay.
How many times in narrative history have we seen a character fall off a cliff and then come back? Fucking Aragorn did it.
Aragorn did it. Indiana Jones did it.
Yes, those are main characters too, and they may have more plot armor, sure. But I think that the writers were like, we want to leave this open in case that she comes, in case we want to bring her back. And Narek isn't dead either; he's in Federation custody. So I would think it would be really cool to bring them back at some point.
Can't believe you wrote Palpatine did it. You did that to me a couple episodes ago too. Yeah.
I'm sorry to yell. I feel very strongly that she was one of the better parts of the.
No, that's fine. I like it when you yell.
Of the season. I know.
It's good. It's good conversation. No, we don't have to agree on everything.
I don't argue with that because in Dungeons and Dragons, I have a strict policy, and players learn that if they don't see the bad guy die, the bad guy will come back.
Okay.
We didn't see Narissa die. We saw her fall down into the bottom of the Borg cube. How far she fell, how well trained she is. Could she have grabbed onto something, dislocated a shoulder, and pulled herself up onto a railing?
Oh, hell yeah. She gets really super fucking injured, misses out on the fight, but she's alive. And she gets her shit back together. And she finds another Zhat Vash somewhere or something.
She shows up next season half assimilated.
I will concede this point because writers in the past have felt the in the need to.
The only one who has actually died is Mufasa.
Right. Okay. No, don't do that.
Play
don't
the sound clip. Put the sound clip in post.
Brother, help me.
I can't. It brings back too many memories.
Long live the king.
No.
You're right, because there has been precedent set of if you don't see them die on screen, that gives the writers the trope of bringing them back. Fine.
Yep.
Look,
but I'm not
I'll
happy
give you
with
this.
that.
If I, Dag, Big J,
yes,
fell off a cliff, we dead. We dead as shit.
We ain't got no plot armor.
But Narissa fucking took a knife, a little baby knife from her belt, was looking at one person and threw it. And it landed precisely in the right place to kill a man. Okay? She is a uber capable. Like Raffi.
Okay.
Well, Raffi's like intelligence and charisma is off the charts, but Narissa is like, I'm the personification of I am very badass. Like that is her entire personality. Right. But I love it. I think she's great. She's unapologetically herself. She's on her mission. She has work to do. And then we're showing clips right now on our YouTube of her and Ramda. That's the name.
Yes. Auntie Ramda.
Auntie Ramda. So maybe we can talk a little bit about.
This was one of the more interesting moments where you get to see a glimpse of the softer side of Narissa. She walks away from this like a total badass, totally adopting her true self, or the self that we get to see for the rest of the series. But here, she is legitimately connected to this woman who raised her and Narek, and obviously groomed her for Tal Shiar and eventually Zhat Vash recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those scenes that you need to give a sense of Romulanity to a villain. I wanted to use the word humanity there, but she's a Romulan. It just makes her a skosh more sympathetic, but not much, because she is a cold-blooded killer.
I think that she is very sympathetic because of the nature of her motivations. Like, and really, the villains in the show have the ultimate motivation, which is to prevent the apocalypse, by whatever means necessary. There's no persuading them out of that. I mean, it's like, this is going to happen and we're going to stop it for the betterment of all organic life. We're stopping this cycle. And it's really hard to argue with that.
It is.
But of course, Picard is like, Picard, the character, he's like, we can still have the hopeful future without the synths suffering for it. And so, the Zhat Vash didn't really think about making friends with the synths instead of causing them, like meeting them. Like the whole thing with Beautiful Flower and Jana, is it Jana?
Jana.
Whatever. Jana. like the Zhat Vash could have befriended them as Starfleet officers, and either decided that they realized that these synths were fine, there wasn't going to be conflict, we can usher them in with the rest of humanity, or they just kill them all that way many years earlier and there's no story. Would that have been the smarter thing to do? Maybe, but in this instance that didn't happen, and so Narissa is still up against, like, think about how many Romulan generations have gone into like this whole thing. Like, she's like the final spear point. She's the point of the spear that they've been honing for like generations to do this one job.
Well, so let me throw this out to you guys, because Watney, you raised a good point. I wonder if they're not going to take that chance. They're not going to take that chance, take that risk of befriending them. And the reason that I say that is because I believe that through some means or another, the Tal Shiar, and then turning that information over to the Zhat Vash, but there was information that was gained in regards to Data on the Enterprise. Think of all the times that Data single-handedly took over the ship. It basically, no one could stop him. The things that he was able to do and able to accomplish. And this was against friends and colleagues. Think about the time that he was taken over by the what was the thing? You remember the spirits that took over Data, Troy, and O'Brien, and
yeah,
they okay. So you take all those instances of Data being controlled somehow or another, and how easily it is for this one synth to take control of a starship like that. Do you think that any of that somehow found its way to Romulan intelligence, Tal Shiar, Zhat Vash, and basically it was, look at this synth that all these people, he's a Starfleet officer, they all know and love, and even Insurrection. I mean, look at all the damage he caused when he got shot activated. And suddenly, and activated. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm thinking that they get the stuff, and it's like friendship, negotiation, that's off the table. You cannot trust synthetic life, because even if you befriend them, this is still possible. They can still do these things. And look at what this synth Starfleet officer was able to accomplish and was able to do. And that was amongst friends and colleagues. So
look what happened on Mars.
Right. Look. Well, but Mars was an inside job.
Even if it was an inside job, the synths were hacked, just like Data was.
Right.
So
right.
Organics can be brainwashed.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just saying that there is, in my opinion, there's no way that trying to be friendly or negotiating with synth or to get to know them is even on the table. They've just
not for the Zhat Vash.
No, they're too dangerous. Well, but see, then here's the thing though, Watney. I think being brainwashed and being hacked, if you're a synth, are very different. I think you brainwash a human, pit that against Data getting hacked. Who's more dangerous? This person with a positronic brain that can do, all these calculations in a second, a living computer. A person being brainwashed is not going to be as big a threat as essentially this super being, super intelligence getting hacked. You're screwed. So no, they're not taking any chances there.
And while I take your point, I want to take a side second here to remind our listeners that, if the brainwashed person knows Data's off button, Data is out for the count, just like he was in the game, TNG.
Mm-hmm.
But back to our discussion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm recording.
That was good stuff.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Sorry, I didn't mean to spend so much time on this one GIF playing.
No, I mean,
sidetracking.
It's important because we're talking about, Narissa's deeper motivations and connections.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice to think about, if the Zhat Vash were truly invested in ending the potential threat of the synths, you would think that they would explore every option available to them up to and including peaceful diplomatic resolution. But given that the fact that they're Romulans, obviously this does not come into their mind. It's
not part of their background and culture.
It isn't. And it's unfortunate that that's the case, but it does make them a perfect candidate for this operative system.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and as we found out, members of the Zhat Vash have to be detached from those kinds of connections. Even in the scene here, we're showing sequences where Narissa is on her rampage in the cube, where she's just willy-nilly mowing down Borg. She didn't try to negotiate. She just was like, you repel me and I'm going to kill you all. And that was just like a microcosm of what she would have done to the Synth planet if she had had the opportunity to class it.
Yes.
Shall we talk about Narissa and Hugh?
Yeah. Yeah, Narissa and Hugh.
Gosh.
Yeah. A lot of people were upset that such a royal guest star would get the axe in 2 or 3 episodes. Totally within Narissa's character to do that and to show the audience, she means business, yo. She will kill everyone on the show if she can. So
yes, give her the chance, she will do it.
Was this executed well? Pun not intended.
I think it was, yes, and I know that there tends to be some issues that fans have had with Hugh getting killed. And here's what I have to say about it. If it's going to happen by anyone's hands, I don't think there's anyone as evil as Narissa in this entire first season who would do that. But here's the other thing that we shouldn't lose sight on is that Hugh was a character that was in 3 episodes of the Next Generation. There was Iborg, was his introduction. And a couple seasons later, you had Descent Part 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. Now we just happen to get this series, and they bring the character back in a way that makes sense. There are not many characters out there, especially ones that were part of, I don't want to say minor character, but was just in that Q has been in a lot more, and we don't know if we're going to see him again, but yet you've got this character that we were able to get closure on, which to start someone like that character in the 90s, and now in 2020 to have that come full circle, that's big. And we shouldn't lose sight of or be upset or disappointed of Hugh's fate. I think just the fact that we got to see this character from beginning to end after this 20 plus year span, think about it. That's actually not bad at all. I cannot think of any other characters in any show that were not a main character that got that kind of treatment. I mean, out of however many episodes of Next Generation there were, let's see, 7 seasons, 24, 26 episodes a season. So
176 episodes.
Okay, 176. So out of 176 episodes, Hugh was in 3. No, wait a minute. No, he wasn't in Descent Part 1.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be a technicality, but yeah.
I'd have to. I can see the scenes that he was in, but
we understand the point that you're trying to make.
Yeah, I think it was 2. It was two episodes out of 176.
And he gets brought back later.
Right. I mean, that's pretty significant.
He died doing what he loved.
Right.
I mean, protecting the XBs and telling a Romulan bitch to fuck off, like,
and he spent.
He actually died hiding behind a corner, but he really.
But he spent 30 years doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think like where we see Hugh was honestly, let's be honest. He was a very minimal character in TNG. He was in TNG, which for a lot of people is like, you're the fucking god, like, and I get that. Very minimal character, but a very relevant character to bring back to have in this position. I'm glad they thought of him. I'm glad he was available. I'm glad he was in the role. He did a fantastic job. He really sold Hugh. He loved like him seeing Picard again, like a wonderful, wonderful moment. And it means more to have him, like, to have Narissa. It means it's like, when Worf gets told no so much. Narissa's the actual threat. So have her have the plot armor to kill someone from TNG elevates her villainry.
Correct.
And she does it. Look at her like acting though. Like she's just so on point. And it sucks to see, but they were great in their scenes together.
They sold it.
I'm sure they sold it. Absolutely.
Sold.
I'm sure she walked around that cube, or met him a couple times as a Starfleet officer. I don't know. I'm sure they were acquainted before this.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But
so right, I think if there's the way they did it was as well as you could with the story and the circumstance, and reminding yourself that this is a character that was in 2 out of 176 episodes of Next Generation.
Yep.
It's a treat that he was even back in a story and setting that was relevant.
What's really interesting is that is not necessarily a first for Trek. Mark Leonard and Jane Wyatt only appeared in the original series 1 time out of 69 episodes. And while Sarek was brought back for movies 3, 4, 6, and 2 episodes of The Next Generation, Jane Wyatt reprised her role as Spock's mother in Star Trek 4.
Yes.
20 years later.
Yep.
So I think it's cool that Trek has set the precedent for sticking with their original actors when they can.
Right. I think it was 72 episodes of TOS, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look that up while you're talking about the next thing.
79, I think.
79. Jeez, I was where did I get 72?
67?
You said 69.
Oh, I think it was actually 79. My bad.
Yep.
So yeah, she just walks in and she trounces all over Hugh's playground, and then sort of as a side note, while she's fighting Elnor, kills Hugh, which just hits home as a fan. And Hugh does have that sort of culty status as a big event in Star Trek The Next Generation, even though he was just in those 2 episodes. It hits home as, wow, here's this guy that we've all sort of grown this sort of hero worship for what he did in TNG.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets killed as a side note. It's featured, but she's not going after him. There's no cool struggle. It's just, I'm going to throw this pin in your neck and disappear. Harsh.
Yeah, very harsh. Supposed to be harsh.
Now we have filled our discussion today with Narissa and Narek and how creepy and uncomfortable they make us. What else can we tread out here?
It's been said. Yeah. I think we thoroughly.
She communicates with him via hologram, and it's creepy. She communicates with him in his office, and it's creepy. She does this weird thing where she like chokes him out, but then seconds later she's hugging him. It's
still creepy.
And if you're just listening to us on audio, we have some gifs here of, Narissa looking at him longingly with these eyes, but then at the same time speaking in a tone that's just totally, I hate you, wrapping her claws around his throat, giving him a hug. It is
a hug that lasted too long.
It is so bizarre. And the fact that it is bizarre and we took that away means I think that whether or not I agree with the writer's intent here, they got their point across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they wanted to make you uncomfortable during 100% of their 2 scenes together, that they did it. Yeah. Well done.
If the writers wanted this to be a nice rosy relationship, they did not bring that across the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful for it. It was actually interesting.
Yes,
it was an interesting relationship with conflict and tension and underlying motives that were obviously there and nuance. And though it was incestual, I still appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
it happened. That happened. So the writers went there and we got it, and then we have the best girl on girl fight that I've ever seen.
I think this was a really well executed, if brief, fight between Narissa and Seven. There were some scenes I would have liked to have seen that I've mentioned in previous podcasts, but basically Seven walks in with a gun and Narissa disarms her, starts a fight, and pisses Seven the fuck off.
Oh yeah.
Seven knocks her down the shaft.
Can you imagine if Seven had been killed by Narissa?
Oh no, that was not that. Now that's sacrilege. That's going too far.
I knew as soon as Seven walked in, Narissa was done.
Right. Yes.
Because Narissa has so little plot armor compared to Seven. I was like, it's over for my fave, and it's sad. I thought they were gonna hopefully I don't know, join together or something. Hey, come join our cause. Seven straight up admits later in the show after this that she regrets killing her. So, that to me tells me that she might come back.
Well, and you're not going to kill off Hugh and 7 of 9. That wasn't happening. Narissa, there is no plot armor thick enough for a character to have to pull that off.
They killed Picard.
Come on now.
I mean,
yes and no. I know. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? You're trying to. You're baiting me, and it worked every time. Trying to pull me into that discussion and save it for.
I know it feels wrong for me to say it. I know it sucks to hear it, but we've been around and around about it. And when you look at it, that Picard we loved is dead. He's dead. So 7, you better fucking watch your back. That's all I gotta say. Because they'll come for you. They will. These writers will come and get you.
They're coming for you.
And they'll kill you on a concrete slab while they're at it.
It dawns on me that there is another interpretation to this, the way this scene could have gone.
Okay.
That I haven't really considered before, but we know that the cube that Seven bonded with was shut down because Ramda had shared the admonition with the drones. So Seven should have picked up the admonition when she connected to the cube. And it would have been interesting if she walks out here with this gun, but instead of starting a fight, she's like, I know about the admonition. What do we need to do?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Insane.
Well, but no, remember what you said when we were talking about that DAG a few episodes back, was that the firewall thing. We've lost Whitney. Remember what you were saying about kind of the firewall effect, that the information kind of, it all happens within probably milliseconds or seconds, but it goes to the queen before getting handed down to the drones. And you were saying that when Ramda was assimilated and that knowledge was assimilated, that's, the queen was just like, nope, done, fake news, cut off that cube. That's it. And so Seven would not have known about it interfacing with that cube, because that information never was not, that bulk email didn't happen.
I mean, this is all my speculation, so I mean, it didn't happen in the show anyway, but it just would have been interesting if that had happened that way.
Right.
No,
okay.
You are correct that the entire reason that fucking cube was lingering out there on its own, supposedly, was because Ramda, who had been through the admonition and gone nuts from it, was in such despair that the knowledge of the admonition to the larger collective forced them to cut the tie on that cube.
Mm-hmm.
That is the reason we were given by Narissa. Now, the writers don't go into any more detail about that. She could be lying, she could be assuming, she could be thinking like the admonition, oh my God, holy shit, it's such a big fucking deal. Yeah. And obviously it is if it makes these people go insane.
Mm-hmm.
The cube has that knowledge within its program. I see no reason why Seven does not know the admonition. If not more explicitly than Girardi knows the admonition.
Yeah. Well, and like in my own little headcanon there, Seven does learn the admonition, and it's because she learns it that she reaches out to Picard to say, you need to know the truth of the admonition. It's not what the organics say it is. It's not what the synthetics say it is. It's literally a fusion of what they're saying it is. Yeah,
and it would have been really great if there was a conversation about it with them beforehand. Okay. And maybe they almost come to an agreement, but they can't agree on the thing that makes Romulans so different, which is the violent tendencies.
Or at least Narissa's violent tendencies.
Not that Seven doesn't have violent tendencies now. In fact, she has a lot of violent tendencies, and I could even see them lingering on that together. Maybe Seven starts to think of more in the collective mindset that the Borg way of the greater good, the greater, outcome.
Yeah.
And she's she had just assimilated. No, wait, she hadn't at that point, did she? She already did during this fight. What am I thinking? Yeah. So maybe they have a conversation about that, but if we don't even get Narek his ending at the end of the show because of editing reasons, then I doubt that they had time or maybe even the thought to film that kind of conversation. Once again, it's just a disappointment in how everything was screenboarded and the storyboarded,
the tying up the things. We always get to this point in our character assassinations.
We do.
Where we really enjoyed a lot of the things we saw on the screen, but when it comes to the end, the way they tied things together was more or less dissatisfying. To different degrees, of course, and on different subjects. But there are several things that we think could have been done better in universe from a narrative perspective and to the audience from a representational perspective. So that is how the replicated cookie crumbles.
Yep.
Any last thoughts on Narek and Narissa?
Nothing from me. If they are a season one thing, I will say I do have one thing. If they are a season one thing, that saddens me. The door is open for them to return. I hope we see them in a different capacity now that the fight is over in the future. That is all.
It would be cool.
Yeah.
Next time.
For me,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, for me, I think that I'm not as hopeful as Watney is in regards to their return. Sure, there are doors that are open for one or either to or both to come back in some capacity. I don't see how or why, what purpose that would serve. It seemed like in regards to this story that their characters were all in on their involvement with the admonition. And to me, I see this as a storyline that was this was first season. That was it. Each season after that, I think it's going to be its own self-contained thing, and that they're not going to bring back a thread. And for what reason would there be? Now, I could be wrong, and we could, we may see them again. I just don't see the reason why or what any story would serve with that. And that's just my thought. The two themselves, I think, having them being the villains was a good call. The way they were written and portrayed served the purpose of we're going to make this very uncomfortable. These scenes, something that you're going to remember. So you're not going to forget the interactions that they had. They are not. Neither one of them were mustache twirling villains. I kind of compare them and their role in the admonition to, if anyone out there probably follows any of the Marvel movies, to Thanos. He truly believed that his quest to eliminate half of the life in the universe was just all about the economics and the math. You have a finite amount of resources. To extend those resources and have more for all, if you cut the population by half, then that means you have that. So it's a simple math of the thing, and it almost made you feel like it was the Avengers that were the bad guys, because they're trying to stop a guy that's wanting to extend the longevity of these resources. And sure, we might not like how he's doing it, but if you look at it on paper and you take your resources or this, and it's finite, and the amount of people, you decrease that by half, and there will be less consumption of that finite amount. Well, the answer is yes. Yes, that's right. If you half the population, then that lasts longer. And then we come to Narek and Narissa, and as far as they have seen and that they interpret, is that synthetic life will be the end of organic life. And that is how they're going about it. They are going about it because in their minds, it's us or them. Synthetic life will eliminate organic life all in the galaxy. And we have to stop that. So when you look at it on paper, to me, it feels like it's a noble cause. Okay, you've seen this vision of the future, and they're certainly, and they're not off base. So let's think about the evidence that backs up that claim. Starfleet in the mid 2200s got a little too cute with artificial intelligence, and that's where we got Control. And Control, and that was Discovery season 2, and basically what would have happened in the future there is Control eliminated everything, like everything, all living life gone. So there's that. Anytime that we play around with synthetic life forms, you've got androids like Data take control of the ship, no problem. There had been precedent set. V'ger, artificial life. Now, sure, it would have just been Earth that would have been destroyed, and Romulans, Klingons probably would have thought, "Oh, sucks to be you." But again, that is twice V'ger and the whale probe. So there are just several cases where something artificial caused a lot of damage or could have eliminated organics. The Borg also. So basically, these two and their mission, what they're doing now, how they carried it out may have been a little questionable. Kind of this, getting Soji's on her nice side to get the location. But if you think about it, if they believe that these synthetic life will kill all organic life, you see it in this vision. You've seen it happen firsthand. You've seen how close research into this has almost led to that. I believe in their mind, they think that this is a noble cause, that we need to do this, but no one's going to listen to us because, especially once we get to the Federation, they're all about, well, let's talk about this, and they're people, they're intelligent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They were never going to play ball, so they had the best interests of the galaxy and of the people in mind, and it almost, for some brief moments, made you think, okay, they're doing what's right, but the people trying to stop them are the ones that are risking the all life in the galaxy. So to me, that is a good portrayal of an antagonist, or at least a portrayal of an antagonist that I like, is when you look at it, you look at their thought process and the data that they have, not literally data as the android, but the information they have that actually backs up their claim of this is what's going to happen. And it kind of makes you think, yeah, maybe they could have been right. They're not trying to destroy something for the sake of its destruction. They're trying to save lives. When you really think about it, Narek and Narissa are trying to save all our asses, and the people that are trying to stop them are going to be the ones that will be the key to our downfall. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's why I think they're sympathetic, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They're 100% sympathetic villains. And when the stakes are as high as they are in the show, and your villain is trying to stop those stakes,
yeah,
I'm more sympathetic to them, frankly.
Well, can we even call them villains?
Yeah, because they were black and they walk around sulking. That's why they're the villains.
I just kept calling them antagonists. I didn't really know whether they fell into that villain category. I think Narissa definitely does.
She takes her job a bit seriously, but still not a villain. I think antagonist fits better. What is the ultimate goal? That's the thing. I think for the ultimate goal,
they were both convicted for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
Yes. The Joker is a villain. He's a villain. He's not out trying to save any lives or anything. He's a villain. Thanos is an antagonist. He's doing something that he believes in his mind is for the greater good, but the way you've got to do it sucks, but it's what has to happen. Narek and Narissa, antagonists. they're doing this to save the lives of people that don't know, too ignorant to know or to understand. So,
yeah,
that's what we got.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
next time on Beyond Trek,
which one are we going to do next? Yeah, who are we going to do in the next episode?
I mean, we don't have a whole lot left. I was thinking that we would do an expose on the Dodge, Soji, and the synths on Synthworld.
Oh, okay. Just take all the synth collectively, because we have all the synth, and then that will then take us to our ultimate character assassination is then going to be Jean-Luc Picard. That's
no
not about
assassination intended.
What's that?
No assassination intended.
Right.
Character assassination and rebirth.
Yeah.
All right. So for anyone that's still sitting here listening to us, come for the next episode, the next character assassination. We're going to just take Soji, Dodge, Sutra, all the synth, and that whole line, and just assassinate the hell out of all of them.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk more shit. So, yeah, check us out. Coming episodes, we'll be wrapping up our Picard series, and then we'll have some more content coming your way, of course, Trek related. I'm going to tell you where you can find us online. We do have a Patreon, patreon.com/BeyondTrek. We would love your support there. There's lots of fun, cool tiers there, a lot of which involve interacting with us. So check us out on Patreon first and foremost. If you'd like to tweet at us or have a conversation on Twitter, we are at Beyond Trek Pod on Twitter. And then we, of course, have a Facebook, facebook.com/Beyond Trek Productions.
And recently, I wanted to point this out real quick. So recently there was a blog post that came out, top 60 Star Trek podcasts to follow in 2020. Beyond Trek podcast is number 11.
Yes. And if you're listening to us still at the end of the episode, we have you to thank for that. So thank you so much for the support. I know I cannot overstate how grateful I am that you listen to us and keep coming back.
100%. We could not do this without you.
No, we couldn't.
You're our crew.
We may even have a tier on Patreon that would be a date with Watney. I mean, would that be like the Commodore's tier, the Admiral tier, or no?
It's me.
It's the DAG tier.
It's not Watney. It's me.
Oh, with DAG. Okay.
How about a group date? That would be fun.
You can have a group date with us on Zoom.
That would be fun.
Jay's gonna cook.
Oh, I'm gonna cook. Hey, I can cook. I can cook. There's like 3 or 4 different things I can cook.
And then we're gonna order Uber Eats, and Jay will come deliver.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody! Thank you so much for listening.
Yes,
to us.
Thank you.
And tune in next time to Beyond Trek Podcast.
Bye.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.